Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Small Business Virtual Town Hall. I'm Dan McKee, Lieutenant Governor of the state of Rhode Island, and we've been having these broadcasts now for several weeks, Tuesdays and Fridays. Next week, we'll just be going to a Tuesday, Wednesday format, a Tuesday in the afternoon for the small businesses, Wednesday evening, and then we're going to be bringing on a special shows that based on the time frame. And we're working very closely now with our international economic ambassadors that we have out of our office. We're going to want to hear what other countries are doing, and I think you will too. But today, we sent out a recent press release really advocating strongly that the governor and the General Assembly really takes a hard look at creating extraordinary measures to help our small business community. So we're getting some good feedback from that. The press release basically said, look at this federal money that's been allocated, that 1.25 billion. We should know this. In that federal money, the guidelines call that you can provide grants to small businesses that were required to close during the COVID-19 crisis. And I think I've encouraged the governor and the administration to really take a hard look at providing a substantial amount of dollars, working to help thousands of businesses in the state that are all very fragile right now, in particular those businesses that have been required to close. And in addition to that, create a state guarantee strategy, working with our local banks, having the banks step up in a real significant way, in an extraordinary way. This is extraordinary times. This is not the time for regular type of loaning strategies. And to leverage that guarantee so that businesses who choose to stay in business and they're required to have some capital, they know it, they make the decision and they borrow some favorable loans, get $1 billion on the street. That's the idea. And I think that if we work at it, we can make that happen. I wanted to share with you a short video, and please bear with me. Our office has been involved with small business advocacy since I was elected back in 2014. And then sworn in 2015. This is a video that was alarming to me, that Rhode Island was receiving Fs in small business friendliness over and over and over again. So we've been doing everything we can, and I believe that the governor and Commerce has been doing the same, and we have increased small business friendliness. We're ratcheting it up. The idea is to get from an F to a C, to a C to a B, to a B to an A. And what we do today is going to really impact that. So Ben, run that video so people can see where we were in 2015.
We came here today because your lieutenant governor called us up because yet again, Rhode Island had gotten an F on our small business friendliness survey. But to his credit, he wanted to do something about it. So we came out to bring together some of our small businesses, some of the people who'd answered that survey, to really get at what they were talking about when they said Rhode Island has some work to do in terms of being more friendly to small business.
Over the last few years, Rhode Island has received Fs in most of the categories and actually is on the bottom of the list of business friendliness on the Thumbtack survey. The purpose of the meeting was to bring in the very businesses that participated in the survey and listen to them. And that's what we did. So we brought state leaders together, members of the governor's executive staff, the Commerce Secretary, Stephen Pryor, Mackie McCleary, the Director of Business Regulation.
Think about it as a transformation or think about it as a medical diagnosis. We've got to figure out what the problems are. While it may be an uncomfortable conversation at the beginning, having specific references from real business owners to talk about their experiences is the first step down our path to recovery.
So we came out, had a good conversation, heard from the small businesses about what's working, what isn't working, and then had to talk with some of the policymakers to see, all right, here's a program we can fix. Here's a tax we can look at. Here's a license maybe that we shouldn't have or we shouldn't charge as much for to file.
Luke was excellent, and he was able to really bring out a number of things that of importance.
I think one of the interesting and sometimes challenging things about government is that knowing the problem is actually just the first step. The business owners give us the right tools to extract the problem. The fact that they were willing to come and do that and tell us what the challenges were is what's going to allow us to be successful at addressing some of their challenges, because we're going to need help.
It's very nice to see everybody taking notes, but most importantly, giving feedback, and at the same time, requesting more feedback from the participants. So it's the interaction and the coziness of being close to each other, I think, is playing a great role, and I think it's going to have a good effect into the future.
My expectations were honestly more of they're doing this to look good or whatever, and it might be a waste of time. Who knows? But my impression is completely changed from the moment they started talking. Lieutenant Governor McKee and all of the staff really seem to care, and they want to fix these problems.
I know some of us have been waiting for a long time for changes, but I feel very confident that changes are coming. I've been very optimistic with the new administration, and after being here, I am even more optimistic that there is a true intent to change things and improve the business community in Rhode Island.
Today put a light on some of those issues, and now you have decision makers that can actually go out and advocate for some of the levels of change that we need in the state of Rhode Island.
The idea of making a safe space for someone to do business and for consumers is the right thing to do. It just needs to be simple and easy and cheap to comply.
There really is power when you bring together the people who are affected by these policies, these small business owners who are dealing with these issues, with the people actually making the laws, making the regulations, and kind of changing things in government. So now that we brought them to the same room, we saw that some relationships were made, and already there's progress being made on a lot of these tough policies, these tough issues.
We're going to continue to stay in contact with the businesses that are in the Thumbtack network. So when the survey comes out again, we're going to fare a great deal better, and we're going to be one of those states that's going to be started to be identified as the state that actually is progressing at a very rapid rate and make Rhode Island a place where people want to open their businesses, a place where people want to live. We're going to advance business friendliness in the state of Rhode Island.
Yes, so that's a flashback 2015. Our office has been at it ever since, along with Department of Business Regulation and Commerce and the governor's office. And we have made progress. This crisis that we're in right now is a real challenge for us. And it's a challenge that we need to meet and in an extraordinary way. And to do that, we need to make sure that the small businesses know that we got their back. And that's why I'm saying, let's use the federal money the way that was intended, the state is allowed to provide grants to small businesses that were required to close. Let's do it. Let's create a loan strategy that supplements what Mark Hayward's going to be talking about as we bring him on in terms of the SBA and the work that they're doing and the continued work of getting capital and credit into the small business community. That's the only way they're going to survive. They need cash. They need money. They're smart enough to understand how to manage that cash. They're smart enough, the small business community is smart enough to understand when they should borrow and when they shouldn't borrow. So let's keep the momentum going. But this is an extraordinary time, and it's going to take extraordinary measures. We can't think about things the way that we have normally thought about them. We need to think about things different because it's a different environment. In order for our small businesses to survive this crisis, we need to be extraordinary in the measures that we take. So that being said, thank you for that flashback. I don't know whether I look younger or older as a result of these 5 years as Lieutenant Governor, but I did make a promise that we were going to stay connected with our small business community, and we've made every effort to do that. So we appreciate everybody listening in to this program. We appreciate you can send your questions in if you have any questions that you need answered relative to small business, relative to unemployment, all those type of issues that are impacting us today that are important to us. So with that being said, I'm not sure whether Mark is here or Matt's here, but Ben, bring on the team. I got Joe Rodeo here. Joe, as we've introduced Joe as that individual that's helping us with a lot of the legal matters in our office. So. And then Mark Hayward, he's our champion, and he's done a fabulous job of getting money into the pocket. And Mark, I just want to see more money go into the pockets of us.
No, I'm listening to what you're saying, Governor, about the grant side of it. And at the very first time that you and I did one of these, way back when, a couple of months ago. I mean, I kept saying the issue here is the issue of liquidity in the marketplace, the issue of liquidity in the small business community. And if we can get additional liquidity, no matter how we do that, into the hands of small businesses, we're going to be better off in the long term. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. I know the SBA, this is the first time in the history of the agency that we've done grants. We've never done grants before. The PPP program is a grant program if you do it correctly. The EIDL Advance is a grant program. And I think that's what you're talking about. In addition to EIDL, just the regular EIDL of a 30-year fixed rate loan for right now that's still capped at 150,000. But this is about liquidity. If we can push the liquidity into the system, we can get things back opened up. I think we're going to be in better shape than we are today. But we're actually looking at some of the numbers, and they actually look better than they did a couple of weeks ago. So I think now that we're gradually opening up, and by the way, Governor, you need a haircut. I just want to say that. And Joe,
yes.
Joe, you need a shave.
Yes, aware. Thanks.
So, but it's really everybody working together. And I just want to talk about a couple of issues. One, there's $110 billion still left in PPP. We are working with people who are coming along a little bit late in the system. That's okay, because as long as the loan is approved and dispersed before the 30th of June, they'll be able to use it those 8 weeks out. Now, having said 8 weeks, everybody knows that the House passed 417-1, an extension of those requirements as it related to PPP. I think it was done by the Problem Solvers Caucus, which would the gentleman from Texas, Republican gentleman from Texas, and a Democratic gentleman from New Jersey actually developed the, I think it's a 24-week. Now, having said that, this is not law yet, so we still have to go by what we have, which is the 8 weeks. I did have the opportunity to talk to Senator Susan Collins, Chief of Staff, about this issue, and Senator Rubio, Senator Collins, Senator Cardin, and Senator Shaheen, which are two New England senators, have offered their own proposal on this, and I do know that this is a priority for them. He did not know whether or not they were going to accede to the House or whether or not they were going to pass the Senate bill and go to conference, but they are aware that this is an important matter because some people are coming up to that, against that block next week of 8 weeks post this disbursement. But on the EIDL loans, Governor, I will say this again, for people who are out there who are getting denied for EIDL loans, please send to Rhode Island, and that's RHODEISLAND, spell it all out, _DO@SBA.gov. Send us your rejection letter, or if you have a question about, because they are asking questions, Governor, we want to know that. We were successful in getting 3 of them reversed from you have been rejected to you have been approved. So we're having a little success there. So I will yield back my time.
Yeah, Mark, and thank you. And I agree. This is we're all in it together strategy, and wherever we can bring resources in, and you've been doing the work, and we've been trying to assist and support the work you're doing to get that money into the hands of the small business community through the federal government. And that's why I'm saying the grant strategy, the state received $1.25 billion. It says right in the guidelines, and I'll read it: expenditures related to the provisions of grants to small business to reimburse the cost of business interruption caused by required closures. It's very clear, and we know the businesses that have been closed are really struggling right now to figure out what they're going to do next. So it's a combination of things. And then I really want to, and I keep on repeating, what I would like to see happen is the real strong state guarantee strategy, leveraging that guarantee with our local banks, have the local banks really step up with a very aggressive small business strategy for the businesses that are going to need it a year out, 2 years out. This is a long haul, and we need to protect our small businesses to protect the economy. Otherwise, our communities are going to really suffer.
In 1993, I actually wrote a policy on that, on how the state could add on to the SBA guarantee and create as you know, we either guarantee 50% or or 75%, where you could actually add on to that guarantee and provide additional guarantees to small business. So
let's do that. Let's make sure
all
that
right.
we're going to start that conversation. At least I'm trying, and then
No, I agree.
I think it's going to start. And again, we got time. This is not like this problem or this challenge is going to be with us for some time. And how we handle it, like I did the flashback on the small business friendliness for the state of Rhode Island, it's going to impact us for a decade or more in terms of what the impression people have, or small business entrepreneurs have, about the friendliness in the state of Rhode Island. This is a tremendous opportunity, Mark, to actually step up and do extraordinary things and earn, the B and then get to the A, right? That's the idea. So
I agree.
Appreciate it. Joe, do you have any questions of Mark or any other information you want to bring on? And then Ben may have a question.
I don't have a question for Mark, but I would like to, and Mark mentioned, and it's a good reminder, follow the PPP application that's in place now. But I do want to highlight that the bill that the House put in about 6 weeks ago, if you recall, our federal delegation here in Rhode Island asked for some feedback from the small businesses we've been hearing from on these calls and on these videos. And it's in the first couple of bullet points, it's almost identical to the feedback that you provided at our federal delegation's request. So just to remind folks that you and our federal delegation were listening to and presenting these ideas, 6 weeks ago. And obviously we're glad they got listened to, but certainly you and our representatives from Rhode Island have been at the forefront of this issue. So,
well, our delegation being open, and Mark was in on that call with the chief of staffs on that Saturday morning just before Easter. They've been a good voice for us, and just because I'm advocating for small business doesn't mean I'm not advocating for the other communities that need help as well. We gotta do the whole thing. It's a yeoman's task, and it's got to be done across the board. But if we fail in any one area, we're going to be weaker as a state, and we don't want that to happen. Ben, do you have a question for Mark?
Yes, I have 2 questions today. Hugo says, if you received the PPP and are still not open in full capacity after 8 weeks and had it forgiven, can you apply for a second PPP loan?
No, there's only one shot at the apple with PPP, and once you've got your PPP loan, you've got to expend it now within the 8-week period, and we'll see what happens over the next week or so.
And this is essentially the same question, but it's a good transition to our next segment. Do we know if we can apply for PPP? I only have 2 weeks left. If we don't get more money, Matt Weldon, they're coming your way. So let's bring on Matt Weldon from DLT.
I think. I think that's great, but this is what the governor is talking about. This is exactly what the governor just said. If we had grants in place for those who are kind of up against the wall, that possibly that this could be of assistance to them as well. And I'm not saying a huge amount of money, but certainly for those very small businesses, Governor, I think you're right on target here.
Yeah, and so Mark, what I'm saying is commit a big chunk of money, and then June 1st. The people who have been impacted have not been allowed to open up. You divide that, a quarter of that the first month in June, go in July, go in August, go in September. That's somewhat sustainable, and they do get a little bit of money to cover some of their overhead. We don't expect that everything's going to get covered, but everything helps. And that message that we send, Mark, is so damn important.
I agree.
Right. So, Mark, thank you for your help. Matt,
thanks, Governor.
Right back at you. Matt, give us the update again. Thank you for being here. We're giving you. I just mentioned to Mark, and I heard that we're going to go to the Tuesday calls, the Friday calls. We're going to, abbreviate into a different category strategy. But so we're cutting down your workload, but we still need you there on Tuesday. So please make sure you put that in your schedule. You're being very valuable with the information you're providing in generally, but also specifically. To many people out there, and your work and your staff's work is very much appreciated at the DLT. So give us your update, and Joe may have a couple of comments as well.
Sure. Thank you, Governor. And as much as I'm here trying to help every day, it's really my team at DLT that does all the work. They've been killing themselves since about March 9th, and they were all working 7 days a week trying to help all of the people that have been impacted. I know that it's incredibly difficult for each individual. I know that the challenges that they're facing are unique, and we can't feel them exactly the same way. we recognize that it's a challenge, and I don't know what I said to make the governor run away, but he did.
Looks
So
like answering the door. Yeah.
I'm just going to want to make sure I tell everybody that we do care. We are here. We're working really hard to help you. Our emails are inundated. And so if it's taking longer, I'm very sorry. And if you're on the callback list, I assure you we will get to you. I mentioned on a prior call that may take 10 days. That time's actually coming down a little bit. The good news is all the claims continue to come in, they're coming in less rapidly than before. And so we're able to focus on processing more claims and on talking to more people. And so we'll do that each and every day. I know people are participating. I know this forum has really reached a lot of folks because I'm seeing it and I'm feeling it. I see it in my email every single day. People that were on didn't get a chance to ask a question and they send one to me. I'm at a bit of a crossroads because I have over 2,000 unread emails, and I don't know if it's the most fair way to approach it is to handle it bottom up or to go from the new ones and try to get to those. So I'm working on it every single day, I assure you. Just a very quick update, 233,650 unemployment claims. Almost 60,000 of them are for the new benefits for the self-employed folks and gig economy workers. And then 23,000 TDI claims is holding pretty steady right there. We continue to work on the fraud cases. We continue to try to make sure that legitimate claimants get access to their benefits quickly. We continue to keep an eye out on the UI trust fund to make sure that we're not paying people that don't deserve that money. And there's a very delicate balance there, and we're working hard to make sure that we're doing it the right way. The situation that Rhode Island's facing with fraud is not unique. It's happening all over the country. The introduction of the new benefits, the extra $600 is really enticing to bad actors. And unfortunately, that means hardworking Rhode Islanders got caught up in this mess. We are working every day to relieve that pressure and to get that money out the door. Other than that, I think the other thing that we're really working on right now is a way to modernize the Workshare program. The other day I talked about Workshare and I got a couple emails saying, well, we contacted you about Workshare before and we're told it was going to take too long. And that was probably true. I would say contact me again and let me try to help you free that up. The Workshare process, while beneficial, is manual. And when you involve a lot of employees and lots of companies, it takes a long time. I am spearheading a project here to modernize that and to make a virtual or web-based platform for Workshare. Obviously, anytime you introduce a new component, it takes a lot of work. We're working on it every single day. I've already had a call today on it, and I'll have another one this afternoon. We'll keep at it. In the meantime, keep contacting me. I'll do my best to help.
Yeah, Matt, the Workshare one that came up as well. I'm starting to pay one visit a day to a local business, especially the ones that are just reopening, just to get my feet on the ground now that the stay-at-home order has been released. So, and in that, businesses that are just starting up, they are asking about whether they're going to qualify for the Workshare because they're going to open up at 25% capacity, 50% capacity. So there's not a need to have their staff there 100% of the time. So they should just be contacting you, see whether they qualify, and then the time frame that it takes from the time that they apply to the time that they might be activated with funds. Just repeat that for me a little bit.
So generally the way Workshare works, and prior to the pandemic, the way it worked was somebody filled out an application and they emailed it in. When it was emailed in, it would be manually processed. That time took about 2 weeks before the pandemic, sometimes a little longer. We were trying to truncate as much as possible, but that became almost impossible when the volume grew to the extent that it did. And the big challenge that we have, Governor, is there are even though we have over 100 people working on unemployment, it's a very specific program, and you need to be trained to be able to work in that program. Each program in unemployment has all different parameters and different ways to work in it. It's very difficult to take somebody out of one and drop them into another if they haven't been cross-trained in the past. Yes. So what we've done is find those people that have worked there in the past, put them in that program, which means you sacrifice something else. And so now I would say if you get a plan in, we'll do our best within 3 or 4 weeks to get it approved. And maybe we can do it a little quicker than that. What we're trying to do is set it up so all the employees can apply for regular unemployment and indicate Workshare in that application. What that will do is allow us to cut a bunch of the manual work out and pull those claims in automatically. I will update you on Tuesday on the status of that project. That's a
Great.
brand new initiative. Other than that, I would say people should contact your office on that email that you've put out, or reach out to DLT on the dlt.covid19@dlt.ri.gov. And those of you that have my email address, you can send them to me. Like I said, I now have over 2,000. And so it's really tough for me to sift through them and find them. So I apologize.
Well, thanks, Matt. And I do know, as you've heard, we're certainly advocating for any resources that can help the small businesses through this. It's to all our advantage, whether you're in business or not in business. Having our small businesses survive during this crisis, and then coming out of the crisis being able to be healthy is so important to our economy. It's so important to our state budget, the revenues that we get, local budgets. And it's a very important resource for people who live in our communities to be able to go shop local, right? You're going to hear on our next segment, we're going to be talking about really pushing the message of shop local. So your help is really helping our economy a lot, and your openness is so important. Joe, do you have any questions or any comments for Matt?
Sure. I have one of both. First, a comment is just thanks, Matt. You know, we hear occasionally, oh, I haven't heard back, and folks that have reached out to you in your office, and to a person, whether we follow up or not, they do hear back. So thank you for getting to those, and we continue to, express that they are being worked through. One question that we fielded a few times is folks that are processed in the WorkShare program, and we have been hearing some people getting their follow-up now in the last couple of weeks. When their employees get an initial calculation, they only get a calculation based on reduced hours initially for their state benefit, but when the payment starts, they also qualify for the extra $600. I think you even stated that.
Yeah, that's correct.
To clarify, yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Matt, stick around if you can. Ben, you have a question for Matt?
I do. I have one from Rip Phillips. Matt, I received a few calls concerning people who, for some reason, they could not answer their phone when DLT called. Will you call them another time? They are afraid that they will be denied because they did not answer.
They wouldn't be denied because they couldn't answer, but they're probably going to be put. So what happens is the calls get assigned to different staff, and they will follow up with that individual at some point. That usually means sometime later that day they'll call again, or maybe the next day they'll call again. If they try 2 or 3 times and the person doesn't answer, they're going to put a remark in the system, attempted to leave to contact individual, left a voicemail, but they're going to leave the generic number. We don't give out direct lines. And for the very reason I had to shut my voicemail off. So what happens is it gets out in one of these groups or something, and then it's uncontrollable. So yes, they will call back. They should call back. I'm urging everyone, if you get a call from a 462 or a 464 exchange, please take the call, because that's us trying to reach you based on your request.
Before you ask the next question, Rep Phillips, thank you so much. You participated in these calls, and I know that you've been active on all these calls and delivering great information to your constituents. So, Rep, thank you for participating. Go ahead, Ben.
This is just sort of a general question because a lot of people have mentioned it today. Businesses that receive the PPP and the 8 weeks end and people are going back on unemployment, do you see an issue in any? Can you just speak to that for employees and business owners when the PPP runs out and they have to come back to you?
Sure. So it depends on how they've treated it when they were on the PPP. If they reported the wages each week, and even if that disqualified them for a payment that week, they would remain in active status, which means that next week or when their PPP loan ends, they can go back in, certify again, and pick up where they left off. If they didn't do that and they stopped certifying, they're going to have to speak with someone at DLT. One way that I would suggest to do it is submit what's called a refile. Refile your application. And that will essentially refresh the application with DLT and get you back into payment status.
Great.
Thanks again, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much. Thank you, Joe. We'll talk later. Yeah, so that was a helpful information. I continue to publicly thank the governor's office for having Matt be so accessible to us, helping people out. Liz Tanner should be on a little later on the call, I believe, from DBR. We can't get the work done unless we have direct access to these decision makers, and I can tell you that they are stepping up They are definitely stepping up. So thank you, Matt, for being here. Oh, Liz is to come in. Thank you, Liz, for being here, our director of the DBR. Liz, thank you for joining us again today, and give us your update. A lot of things going on, a lot of good things going on right now.
There's so much going on. There's so much going on that rather than kind of going through, a whole list of things, because you have such a variety of business owners on your show, that I'd rather just talk about the generality. So there has been a lot of guidance posted. There's an executive order that'll be coming out at some point. There's some regulations that'll be coming out, all specific to the multitude of businesses that are either opening up starting on June 1 or have changes coming on June 1. Know that we are working fast and furious to get that information out and to have decisions made so that you know what to expect. Know that some of it's not coming out until over the weekend. However, the place to look to get the latest and greatest would be reopeningri.com. So you would check there often for whatever business type you're looking for. If you are looking for clarification on something specific to your business on that guidance, or you have questions, I'll give you the DBR information, because this is where you can actually ask, specific information regarding your specific business. And that's the DBR website, which is dbr.ri.gov. There's two hands that are up in the air. It says, I have a COVID question or complaint. So that's where you would ask your specific question, and we will get to you as soon as we can. As you can imagine, the volume is very high as we get up to June 1. There will be people manning it on Sunday. We're opting to skip Saturday, but we'll do it on Sunday so that we have all of Saturday's questions that we can answer on Sunday. And then if you cannot use the internet, you can do a phone message, 889-5550. If you want to leave a phone message, that will be converted to an email. So if you have any specific questions that you can't get answered by looking at Reopening RI, or if you're still waiting for information and it's the weekend and you haven't received it, please feel free to reach out. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I'll just answer any questions that people have. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Liz, Director, I know that you're all over the place. I listened in on a Musqueamick Business Association call the other day, and there you are. So I know you're everywhere and everywhere. You and I have kind of made sure that we ran in a lot of the same paths over the last number of years, right, in all the communities. So you're being accessible. I want people to know that. And I know that I texted you the other day because I was on a call with Gloucester businesses, and you got right back to me with an answer. So if you have a question out there, you certainly can share it with us. We can get it to Liz. You can go directly with Liz. Whatever way you need to get your answers, there's access out there to get those answers for you. So make sure you take advantage of that. Ben, do you have a question for the director?
Sure. Hi, Liz. Nice to see you again. So we have just some general questions. People want to know about breweries, bars, and the wedding industry. Just in general, any way you want to tackle those is fine. There are a multitude of questions, but they all boil down to that.
So, I think it was last Friday that I was on, and I said, there's big news coming at 1:00. And I couldn't, so I couldn't provide the information. There's big news coming for breweries and bars, but it's a situation where I can't say what it says. So, but the executive order will be coming out. We'll have some big changes for breweries and bars. I just can't go through the specifics, but if you like breweries and bars, you will be pleased with the changes. I can leave it at that. As far as the wedding industry, I guess I would probably need some more specific information. As far as what you're looking for, right? So there will be changes. I think it's pretty public what's happening with the dining. But if it's for wedding, I guess the question is whether it's the sub services or for the event places. Ben, do you have anything more specific on what somebody's looking for?
So in general, the sub services. So wedding vendors that rely on events that are not going to, because the mass gatherings are closed, even with the businesses reopening, they're going to technically be able to reopen their businesses, but there's no way to get clients because the events don't exist anymore. So is there any regulation guidance or anything like that for what they are? Is there anything going for what they're going to be tasked with over the summer and fall, which is their season?
So we, I believe for June, you're looking at still the limitations, the capacity limits. I'm not sure what things look like for in August, but at least for June, I think you're looking at still the 15-person capacity limit. So, depending on what you can get done with 15 people, there will still be limitations, particularly for those subservice vendors.
Yeah, so Liz, thank you for being here and making yourself so accessible around the state of Rhode Island. Very important. And you were involved in those conversations with me back in 2015. I don't know if you saw the tape I just ran about, small business friendliness, and that's been a goal of yours, certainly a goal of mine. And we're at such a critical point right now. We never expected to get this, this blow to our economy. And it was unavoidable, and we need to work our way through it. But we also got to make sure that we're doing our part to, continue small business friendliness in the state. So I know you're doing that. I know you're working hard at that. So thanks.
Thank you very much, and always thank you for the opportunity. We try really hard to answer the questions as fast as we can. With things happening so fast, we're usually pretty good about responding same day, and nights and weekends, depending on volume. So always feel free to reach out, and we'll get you a question. We'll get your question answered as soon as we possibly can.
Yeah, and I would the message to the people out there, the business out there, follow the rules. The closer we follow the rules, the shorter distance we have to kind of make sure we have the virus under control, and the more economy we can open up. So we need to make sure we're following the rules, and that makes Liz's opportunities a lot stronger to be able to defend what she's trying to do, what she's trying to help us open up. But if you don't follow the rules, it's going to be difficult for her to advocate for that, right, Liz?
Well, I should let you know that we've done inspections for almost 2 weeks now, and the feedback has been really remarkable. The businesses are doing such a great job. More than half of them are pretty much perfect or almost perfect. That's really great, especially when we started on day one, and people are still trying to figure out what they have to do. So we can't thank the business owners enough for taking the time to look at the guidance, really understand what is of concern, protecting not just their customers, but their employees, right? Because again, I can't say enough about, you can't build customer confidence unless your employees feel like they've been taken care of. So that's the surefire way, but it's been really amazing. I think the one area that has been, the worst, I hate to say worst because it's really not that awful, was signage, right? And so if signage is the worst thing, well, then I know we're doing pretty good, right? So we are working on getting better signage for businesses so that we can hopefully share it out through the chambers, and that the businesses can have better signage about the screening and the cleaning and the face mask and all that other stuff in front of their businesses or wherever it's appropriate. So we recognize that you probably didn't have the best tools, and so we're trying to get you the better tools, and we'll get them out to the business owners.
Well, Liz, thanks for being here. I don't know if you heard, but we're going to do the small business call once a week starting next week on Tuesdays. And then I'm still having my broadcast next week on Wednesday evening. And then we're going to filter in special types of broadcast as it makes sense. We're working on an interesting project with the International Economic Ambassadors. And we're talking to places all over the world, just like I know you are. We talked to England yesterday. We talked to Taiwan, New Zealand. We're going to have Australia next week, Germany next week. And then we're going to try to bring those type of shows into this format to share that information with the general public and just not have it in these closed calls. So try to reserve your Tuesdays, as many of Tuesdays as you can.
I think that's great. It's funny, the world's gotten even smaller. We spend more time looking, we don't just look at the other states. We've been looking at what all the other countries are doing, and we're all learning from each other. So it's important to have those connections and relationships all over the globe.
Well, we're trying to do our part and feed into the work you're doing, and let's make sure we get this economy back. That's the main thing. But you got to follow the rules. If you don't follow the rules out there, then it's going to be difficult for us to manage that. Thanks, Liz.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so that was a great presentation. What great to have the SBA here, DLT, and the DBR. Thank you to all of them. And again, thank you to everybody who's listening out there. You can text in your questions if you're listening. We'll definitely try to answer them online or get back to you. And if you want to go to ltgov20@gmail.com, if you want to do it that way, our office will make sure that there's a response to your questions. So thank you for all being here. I'd like to bring on our Gifted Forward crew, if we could, to do a quick overview of what's happening there. Again, how important is this as we reopen to be supporting our small business and all the work we need to be done? And we're going to hear from a couple small businesses right after you. But we're right on target. We've got about 5 minutes or so to spend on this project. And I know you guys have been working hard. Andrea in the office, I made sure that she's joining you on all your calls. So let's start off with Justin again. We'll go to Chris. We'll end up with Laurie and give us kind of the overview where we are. And Justin, I think I'm going to be with you, I think on Monday with some of those donation things. So talk about what's happening on the board, but give us a little update on the donation strategy, because I want to weigh on that in this segment about what we're doing to help fill those gaps that are out there that Liz was just talking about.
Yeah, it was funny as I was just going to mention some of that. So yeah, we've been noticing a little bit of spike. As Liz said, over the last 2 weeks, they've been out doing inspections. We're noticing a spike in people looking for different signage. They're trying to make some, bigger signs about wearing masks, and we're seeing, an increase in those requests from us, which is great. We just had a arcade company come in this morning, picked up some sneeze shields that they're going to put in between their arcade machines. They purchased a custom version of it, but as you and I will discuss later and launch on Monday, we're going to be donating a lot of those, which will be really nice. So as we move forward, Chris, Laurie, and I are kind of using our strengths and bringing that into a true team mentality. Laurie's team has really been good at a lot of the social media stuff and really been helping take what we created with the Gift It Forward website, bring it over to the shop local section of our site. And Chris has kind of done that overhaul, and I'll let them speak on the specialties. But yeah, we've all been definitely working a little bit even more as a team, I think, than we have over the past few months. And I know that sounds crazy.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you and thank Chris, thank Laurie. You are volunteering your time. This is in-kind donations. This is a donation, quite frankly, you couldn't put a price tag on. And then the work that you're doing, Justin and others, we're starting to really create as we talked about on Tuesday, a central portal for donations, whether it's cash or whether it's a product. Right now, we're looking, just the general out there, we're looking for a handful of computers, so that this organization that doesn't have computers needs to work on computers. So we're looking for a donation for a handful of computers, not unlike the state is providing, but they had 500 computers. They had over 1,000 requests for those computers. So that's one of the things. And then we've also partnered in for everybody and the benefit of this team, like Three Amigos here. We've got a church that is willing to provide a space if we are donating material, or even have a centralized pickup for this material. I know that we're picking up 500 masks for N95 masks that we're going to give to be donating to some of the businesses that need to protect, because they're still doing they're still bringing people to their doctor's appointments, these businesses, and they don't have the protective gear right now. So we're going to fill those gaps. So anybody out there that really wants to participate in this effort, not only on the rismallbusiness.org, the Gift It Forward program that Chris, Laurie, and Justin have been working on, but also if you're looking to donate, we're going to have a nonprofit. You'll be able to do a tax deductible donation. You can designate it to the type area you want it, or we're going to have a group of small businesses that are going to try to distribute those dollars in a way that makes a lot of sense. If you have products or you have hand sanitizers, like we said, masks, gloves, gowns, the hairdressers are going to need that. They're going to be opening up very shortly. There's hundreds of those places that are going to be opening up. So yeah, my cell number is 401-465-6204. Give me a call. And this is the next step that we're working on. Chris, give us a little update on the work that you're doing, and also, in relationship to this Gift It Forward program that you're working regularly on. Thank you again.
Of course. So the new website is complete. About 95% done. We just have to get a few edits and reviews, and we're going to officially launch it for next Tuesday's call. I was going to share it, but I think we're running a little close on time, and I do want to have the small business panel, Providence G and Bill, speak. But the website is ready to rock, and it's going to be a portal. So for things like Lieutenant Governor just said with the volunteer program, we can centralize it on that. It's going to be how to open. It's going to be about shopping local. info and resources. So I've been reaching out to organizations that are already doing great work in helping out other small businesses. We want to centralize all of those resources and all of those great organizations and companies that are helping out small businesses and add them to the site. We've already talked to a bunch. We've already added them to the site. So if anyone else wants to be added to the site, they're providing free services. They're volunteering their time. They're an organization, like I mentioned, the Rhode Island Small Business Development Center recently reached out to, Center for Women in Enterprise, and they're going to be, their services will be on there as well. Please reach out to me. Email me at cp@trailblaze.marketing, and that way we can add you to the website, and I guess it'll just be a tease so that on Tuesday, make sure
Chris, we're going to make sure you can do a tutorial on Tuesday with the three.
Yes, it'll be a tease. Make sure to log on Tuesday at 12 o'clock so you can check it out.
Yes, and we'll give you the time, and you'll be the business group that will be providing that information, and we'll do a great tutorial. And I know you'll be able to figure that out, and we'll give go over 10-minute time frame and really give it justice. So thank you so much for your work.
Of course.
Lori, give us your
forwarding
by local and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, so part of the transition on the new site is also to shift to Shop Local Rhode Island. So people will know that as we integrate the rismallbusiness.org site with all the information there, the Shop Local piece will go to a lot of the businesses that are probably on this call. I saw J. Patty listing there, and so we help them get their listing up. It's a restaurant and food truck in Pawtucket. So I think kind of the way you started the call was we need to think different, and that's kind of how this was created in terms of like, how do we make this complex situation simple? Two things that Steve Jobs said, right? Think different and make complex simple. And so we're, as a group, it's an honor to really bring all of this information together, working together. Lieutenant Governor, I'm honored to be a part of this, because it really is, we're focused on getting the information to the businesses and allowing the businesses to do what they want to do, which is sell their stuff, keep their businesses going. The Shop Local site is delivery, curbside pickup, online classes, online services. There's a Made in Rhode Island. So we're trying to really shorten the supply chain here. We also have a coupon section. So if you're doing like special things for Father's Day that's coming up, you can put that up on in your membership of your company, and you can put in those codes. So we've also had a lot of companies sharing what they do with other companies. For example, flower shops that have e-commerce are bringing in partners to sell the wares of other small businesses on their site. So it's really been this hub for small business in so many different ways. So I would say if you're a small business, use the site, get the resources, use the services, put your information out. I mean, it's like we're pushing the information out, but we also are marketing it so that we can bring customers to you. So it's a big effort, and it's exciting. We know business is going to be different.
Yeah, so my three amigos, they're doing the work. Tuesday, they're going to show, a phase 3. I think we're probably in phase 3, right, Justin? Something like that, right? Yeah. And my goal, and to make sure that this portal, ends up in our office in a way that we can advocate in a real strong way for the small businesses. I want to bring the largest group of small businesses ever assembled in the state of Rhode Island into one portal, one place, so we can advocate. Right now is a time to advocate. We should be advocating. There's nothing wrong with advocating. I can tell you right now, anybody out there in small business, there are people advocating. They're lobbying for the available funds. You need to do that as well. There's nothing wrong with advocating for policy, for funding that's available, that could be available, that's going to somewhere else. So this allows us to do, really bring in large group of small businesses under one umbrella and the work that you're doing. It's more than a Gift It Forward. It's more than a shop local. It's information. It's resources. And for our office, it's an opportunity at one push of a button to talk to hundreds and hundreds of people in the state of Rhode Island and saying, hey, this is what's happening. This is what I'm asking you to do. So thank you for, the work that's been going on. And I've said this many times. Look, for me to help the small businesses in the state, I need their help. And the three of you stepping up the way you have and helping the way you have is exactly what I need to carry the message forward. And we're going to do it professionally, but we're going to do it very, aggressively as well.
Yeah.
Why not?
We're ready.
Thank you very
Absolutely.
much. Yeah.
I'll talk to you.
Yeah. See you, Chris. See you, Justin. See you, Lori. That's a crew. And again, if you want to, it's not too late. This issue of recovering or reopening is going to be going on for a long time. Please get involved. Our office is ready to answer the call and answer your call. You can get us at 222-2371. If you have ideas that can help our economy, help our small businesses in the reopening strategies and beyond, please share them. I'm on calls all day long with people who are reaching out to me. Don't be shy. Do it. All right, we got a nice 10 minutes right now to go over with a couple businesses that we're going to bring on, and we want to tell their story and we want to talk about it. So, Bill, we're going to start with you because I know that you're a musician, and besides being someone that's done local podcasts and that type of thing. But tell us how this environment has impacted your industry, which is the music industry. And I see your mask. You're looking good. I'm glad that you're protecting yourself and following the rules. That's good. So, Bill, why don't you start, and then we'll go to Colin. And I appreciate both of you being here today to talk on behalf of the small business, tell your story, and hopefully we continue to really make sure this messaging is loud and clear, not only to the media but the general public. Bill, thank you for being here today, and tell us your story about a musician and how this has impacted your industry. Oh, you got to unmute. You got to unmute. Oh, I think we lost Bill.
I kicked him off. I sent him a text for what to do. He kept coming in and out of the stream in the back. So that's what happens sometimes when you're on a phone. Colin, take it away.
Yeah, Colin, thank you very much, Colin. You get to go first. Tell us what's happening in the business, how this is impacting your restaurant business, and thank you for all your support and helping the small businesses too and being an advocate for them.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I think these conversations are so helpful for everyone. Obviously, I don't need to spend a lot of time on how difficult these past few months have been for our industry from a financial perspective, from an emotional perspective, from an operational perspective. But I think that we are making some good progress towards a thoughtful reopening. Our team is spending a lot of time figuring out how to keep up on all the regulations and the rules and comply, as you said earlier. Following the rules is for everyone is incredibly important to make sure that we can continue moving forward. And I think that in particular, it's been nice to be able to work closely with the different stakeholders, including government stakeholders, particularly Rhode Island Commerce, and having conversations about how we open effectively and what makes sense for our industry. So I know they've been working quite a bit with Rhode Island Hospitality, and that's been a huge help. I think despite that, the real challenge now is to figure out whether our businesses are sustainable, how they're sustainable in this new environment under the thoughtful restrictions that we do have. The hospitality industry, the restaurant industry in particular, is a low margin business. And when we look at 50% capacity, limits on bars where, is where we make a lot of our revenue. And in particular, no events or large gatherings, which is of course appropriate and well thought through. We need to understand whether this is sustainable and how we make it sustainable. So I know that for some,
just break in. You talk about the events. I don't like 1 o'clock. So Bill, can you hear me now? Can you speak about the
Let's
music
see.
industry? Colin just kind of referred to the events, what's the impact on the events and the music, one of them. So give us a little overview of what pain you're going through and how, what light at the end of the tunnel you might be seeing.
Sure. Well, first of all, again, thanks for all of your advocacy work, Lieutenant Governor. Much appreciated from a variety of perspectives. I'm here right now at the Rhode Island Veterans Memorial Auditorium, which has been shuttered until next year. And as a musician, you know, it's always been it's very much so a difficult business model to sustain. You know, you're really a paycheck to paycheck, gig to gig, chasing down money. It's even at the higher levels, it's an extremely difficult business to get off the ground and then also maintain any kind of quality of life, frankly. So when the pandemic struck, my initial thought was that, you know what, we're not going to be working for at least a year because, you know, the nature of music, you're singing, you're obviously distributing particles, you've got people close together dancing, etc. So from my perspective, I've really had to innovate and reinvent how I make money. And I don't see any path forward for a musician other than trying to reinvent the wheel at this point. So for me, it's one of those industries that's been completely turned upside down. There's really no light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to be a long time before restaurants and bars are able to justify entertainment expenses at this point, for the most part. And those that aren't necessarily going to be putting their talent into a safe location. If you're, you know, just a few feet away from folks who are packed in to an indoor or even outdoor setting. So my advice to other musicians has been, you know, first of all, take advantage of the gig economy unemployment. And secondly, use this as a chance to diversify your income streams and become less dependent on performing at bars and restaurants.
Yeah, we've had Corey Pizzatoro, an accordion player that earns a lot of his money by going and doing instruction in other areas of the world, and he can't travel any longer. They're doing online type of things. Our daughter Kara was on a live concert last night with Club Passim up in Cambridge. Kara's fortunate to have a career, but she's a accomplished singer, and so they're trying to do these virtual platforms, but there's not revenue that's coming in on those virtual platforms, right, Bill?
Bingo.
Yeah, we got to figure it out. We're going to do it. Let you know, we're doing one June 27th, I believe, for the Brewery Guild, and helping the venues that they deliver their products to, which is part of the musicians. So make sure that you reach out to our office, because we're going to really need your help to promote it. And that's a fundraising strategy. They're going to create some funding to help people in the music industry and the venues that actually support the music industry. So I know you got to go, but thank you for being here, and please keep on listening in. We'll stay in touch. Colin, I wanted to just thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
A pleasure. Thanks, both of you.
Follow the rules. Follow the rules. Colin, we've got a couple of minutes. Thank you. Weigh in on a couple of things that are that you see that could be helpful to you as a business owner, both from either the state perspective, the local community perspective, or the federal perspective right now. Give us kind of a couple minute overview on that. I know your family's been involved in a lot of different businesses, but cue in on as a small business owner yourself.
Absolutely. Well, I think that one of the things that we're seeing now and paying very close attention to, and as you were talking about, advocacy is important around, are some of the changes that are being contemplated with the PPP program. I think, there were certainly issues with access, but there have also been issues with it being appropriate to support small businesses and rehiring. So I think advocacy in that area and more flexibility is helpful for a lot of different businesses out there. I do think that for the restaurant business, and as well as the other sectors that support it, the musicians, the hairdressers, the event planners, all of these other folks that really rely on events, there probably is going to need to be more assistance for many. Whether that comes in the form of direct assistance or whether it comes in the form of guaranteeing debt. I think that there's going to need to be flexibility and customization around that. Shay asked a nice question here on the bottom of the screen. We do see a difference. I think, I'm actually sitting in Massachusetts right now at a seasonal restaurant that we haven't been able to open yet. Supposedly June 8th or June 15th is the day for Massachusetts, but there's very little guidance out there. I think one of the things we've really appreciated, at least in our industry in Rhode Island, is getting more direct and concrete guidance so we know what we're aiming towards. So that's certainly been appreciated, and as much as that can continue, is really important as we move through this phase and the next phase.
Yeah, thanks, Colin. And I know you got a perspective outside the state as much as in the state, and you're very invested in Rhode Island, and we appreciate that. And also very appreciated. I can't wait to get into the, continue the conversations with you and your family on the education issues that your dad and yourself have brought forward. We got to understand that, we got to take care of the task at hand, but we got a future that we also need to be really concerned about and work off. And that's why I've been saying that what we do today during a crisis is really good. It sends a strong message, whether it's to the communities that have really been impacted the most, in terms of the virus, or whether it's the small business communities that I think have been impacted the most, especially those who have not been allowed to open or not or only open minimally. So that advocacy is very important, and we appreciate you and your family being there for Rhode Island. And we can do it professionally, but we need to actually be very forceful about it. Very, very strong about it. That's what our role of our office is trying to be. So stay in touch with us, Colin, and we appreciate your support, and we appreciate the fact that you're in business here in Rhode Island, and we want to make sure that everybody who's healthy is healthy after the health crisis is over, but also economically, if they had ran a healthy business before the this health crisis hit us, we want them to be healthy afterwards. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of advocacy and a lot of support. So thanks, Colin. I appreciate you being here today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate your voice on all of these issues. It's been great for everyone.
Excellent. Beautiful. All right. I think we did good. I would just end the show by saying that we're going to be doing the Tuesday again and the Wednesday evening, and then we're going to have these special broadcasts. So we may be on a Friday, but we're not going to be on a regular schedule on Friday. So just to let you know that, you can contact our office, 222-2371. You can make sure that if we can be of any help to you on any issue, whether it's a small business issue, whether it's a community issue, we want to make sure that we're there for you and provide you with some really sound and accurate information. And finally, those people who want to get involved with the volunteer work, like in the Gift It Forward program or this donation strategy, like I said, we're going to partner with a local church. We're going to partner with which we'll announce next week, with a 501c3. One of the minority business communities is going to step up, and that's going to be able to create donations. We're going to identify the gaps, and we're going to fill those gaps. But until then, stay safe, enjoy your weekend, and please, let's make sure we shop local. Support our small businesses. Thank you.